This is so annoying that I even have to do this next segment, but I want to just do it and get it on the record so that every time people ask me, did you see what Sam Seder or Anna Kasparian or whoever said about you, David? We can hopefully short circuit a lot of those conversations. It's become really trendy for some of the progressive media audience to go around effectively tattletaling to other shows and getting them to react to what other people are saying and then playing that back off of the original host or off of some other person. So I'll give you an example of how this nonsense works. I say something. Someone calls into Sam Seder and says, Sam, did you see what David Pakman said? Then they take Sam's reaction to something that, by the way, Sam has not seen. And then they go to some third host and they say, hey, did you see what Sam Seder said about what David Pakman said? And then they call into my show 10 days later and they say, David, did you see what so-and-so said about what so-and-so said about what you said now 10 or 14 days ago? But the real problem is not the tattling. Like, okay, it's fine. There's this kind of progressive media environment where a lot of the hosts are in touch and we're sort of sharing an audience to some degree. The problem is that people are misquoting me endlessly and wasting everybody's time. And I'm going to play an example for you here, okay? I was on the Joe Rogan program in Los Angeles last week. In that interview, I said that the left needs to be careful about defining itself too narrowly and starting to exclude ideas or people that are reasonable ideas or reasonable people. And I gave the example of different ways of getting health care for everybody. And I pointed out that expanding Medicare to include everyone in a Medicare for all system is one idea, and it's a good idea, but that there are lots of other ideas that I'm open to. These all would be systems of universal coverage. Many are single payer. But my point was, it could look more like Canada. It could look more like the UK or France or Germany, although I don't think that the Singapore system is exactly the best path forward. There are elements of the Singapore system that are interesting, but my point was, all of these systems are better than ours. Let's not shut out good ideas or exclude people who have other ways to get to real, universal, total health coverage for anybody. So a caller went to Sam Seder, completely misstated my position as being for a public option, which is like the softest, most right-wing modification we could make to the system we have, and asked Sam Seder to react to that, which of course is not what I actually said. This is a waste of time. Now, of course, Sam said, I don't know what David said, but more importantly, now Sam is responding to something I never actually said, and we all lose when this happens. We're fighting ideas that I didn't even put forward. Let's take a look at it.
Hey, Sam, this is Nick from Seattle.
Nick, what's on your mind?
All right, just on the David Pakman, Joe Rogan thing. So David Pakman's an overall good commentator. I don't analyze those I mostly agree with, though there were some pretty terrible takes on Ilhan Omar that I have trouble getting over.
I didn't see
regardless, with Joe.
Let's actually stop there just briefly. There's another example. My terrible takes on Ilhan Omar, where I called her anti-Semitic, is typically the way this goes, which I never did. I must have said 25 times now. I did not say Ilhan Omar is anti-Semitic. I did not say that what Ilhan Omar said is inherently anti-Semitic. I said merely there are many examples of this same historically anti-Semitic trope of Jewish conspiracy to control, and what Ilhan Omar said referred to that, period. Okay, that's it. I didn't say she was anti-Semitic. I didn't say what she said is anti-Semitic, period. And yet endlessly, I'm having to respond to critiques for things I didn't say. But let's not go to that one because we have a different one that we're dealing with. So let's get back to the Sam Seder show.
But anyways, regardless, with Joe Rogan, he made a concession that the left is too absolute, specifically on the topic of Medicare for all. I want to hear what you guys think of this take. Seems like he's open to the type of plan Liz Warren has also been flirting with, as she also steps away from Medicare for all. I want to know what you guys think of that.
Characterize that plan, because I didn't. What did Pakman say?
I think he's open to the public option, things like that. He says that the left is too absolute about wanting just Medicare for all. He thinks that there's other plans that we can go with in regards to solving the Medicare issue.
I mean, I don't
I'm not even going to play Sam's response because I didn't say what the caller wants Sam to react to. I've not stepped away from Medicare for all. I haven't said that what I want is a public option, which is so lame. I've not said any of it. What's the point in getting Sam to react to something I didn't say? I've been at the forefront of this issue on healthcare for a decade, for as long as I've been doing the show. There's no upside to the movement to going to Sam Seder and getting him to react to a position that is not mine. Single payer doesn't have to mean Medicare for all. When you look at all the systems that are better than ours, whether it's Canada or the UK, Netherlands, Switzerland, Germany, France, whatever, they aren't all single payer. Many of them are, but in all of them, the government plays a major role as both a regulator and a funder through taxation. The private sector often still exists to different degrees. Some places you still have private insurance as an option that's available if you want it. To different degrees, private industry is still running hospitals or some clinics or whatever. Everybody has to have coverage no matter what system they have. You need that to have the largest possible risk pool. You could argue that the German system might more easily build on what we have in a more immediate way. That would be a respectable position. The French system is great, but 90% of the population has something beyond the national system. What elements of that might make sense? In any case, the point is we are wasting time when we do this. When I say A and a caller goes to Sam and says, Sam, David Pakman said B, react to it. And Sam says, well, based on B, I think C. I never said B, okay? So C is pointless. It's a waste of time. Let's stop doing it, okay? Let's stop the tattling. Let's actually work productively here to improve our country, to improve the society around us, and not waste anybody's time with this nonsense. Make sure you're following The David Pakman Show on Instagram at David Pakman Show. While you're there, follow me on Instagram at david.pakman. Lots of behind-the-scenes pictures and memes and all sorts of stuff from my trip to Los Angeles last week, during which I appeared on the Joe Rogan program, an interview that now it's actually doing really well. It has surpassed a ton of these MMA folks that Joe Rogan sometimes interviews, and even some of the political folks in only the first 5 days. I think 1.2 million views now for the main Joe Rogan interview, which was 2 hours. So make sure you watch it, keep sharing it, keep refreshing, because we want to get those numbers up as high as possible. And more exciting announcements, by the way, coming up very soon.